private? Are they private but sometimes used for public? Really try to understand what is there existing in order to influence any suggestions that we might make. In addition to parking, we also try to look at density, try to look at where are cars coming into the downtown area, where are they leaving, where are those choke points. So we try to identify all those things graphically. So as you guys are reviewing the report in your own time, there's about 30 sheets just like this that kind of show across the downtown area what these numbers look like. If you want to move to the next slide. So this is a really important page in our findings. So after we did our initial data collecting, we had meetings with several folks, including the mayor and a couple of aldermen, as well as several staff members and local business stakeholders. And really what we came up with are 10 key findings that we feel like are important to influence any future inventions that are made. I'll read through just a couple of those. Again, I want to be kind of efficient with our time. So one of the first things that we found is that, what parking that there is available in the downtown area, sometimes it gets missed by people that are coming in from out of town. So they're coming down Washington, and by the time they pass Robinson and DeSoto, they've missed that there was a parking sign. So a lot of times people are kind of making these loops, not really knowing where to go. I know separately there was a wayfinding study that was done. There are some suggestions in there where maybe some of the signage can be enhanced or relocated to help better direct people to the parking that is available. One other finding that we felt like was interesting is that a lot of people identify Washington as really the only entry and exit point to downtown. So a lot of people are kind of coming in, creating a choke point right over that railroad, especially people that aren't familiar with the town. Whereas we think maybe there could be some opportunities to emphasize Porter Avenue as well as MLK as kind of alternate entry points to the downtown area. And again, that could be done with signage and some other things that are detailed in the report. As you all know, golf carts, recreational vehicles are increasingly popular as part of what makes Ocean Springs unique. I think maybe as we move forward, some thought should be given to how to better accommodate parking for those golf carts. Sometimes get a golf cart kind of in a regular space, not quite as efficient. Whereas if you could dedicate more areas strictly to golf cart parking, that might leave open some spaces for larger vehicles. A couple of the items that we noticed on Government and DeSoto especially, some of these streets are wide enough that they can have parallel parking, but it's not always striped. So sometimes people that are looking for a place to park, maybe they may not quite know, can I park here? Or if they do park here, they may park in such a way that they're essentially taking up what would be two spaces as opposed to one. So maybe considering striping some more parallel spaces would be something else that could be considered. I want to be careful in saying that, we all know that Government Street is fairly narrow. I think personally as a resident, I think that's one of the things that makes it interesting and fun kind of as a pedestrian. But it does create a bit of a bottleneck for traffic that's trying to move through and get to parking. So we came up with some creative ideas that maybe could be considered, in thinking about golf cart parking. Maybe you take one side of a portion of Government and you make that golf cart parallel parking. So you're kind of essentially increasing the width for cars that are moving two-way along the street. Another idea or another issue that we noticed or maybe we're considering is currently in Ocean Springs there is no metered parking. I'm not suggesting it right now, but I do think that may be something to consider over a longer period of time. Say, for example, some of the developments that are in consideration now that may result in a parking garage where the overall availability of parking is there, then maybe at that point consideration could be given to implementing some metered parking. And the idea behind that is you want to try to prevent someone from parking in one of your most valued places right at the intersection of Government and Washington, and then just being there all day long, but maybe they're not actually somebody who's visiting and spending money at these retail spots. So it may be a way to kind of encourage efficient use of some of those most valuable spaces. If you want to move kind of through the next few slides, I won't go through all these in detail, but you can see here, these are basically some schematic proposals, sort of some concepts of taking these 10 key findings and solutions that we think could be considered further, could be implemented down the road. And we've tried to create some graphics kind of for further consideration. So again, it's intended to be a framework, not necessarily a finalized recommendation. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to really look through the report. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. And of course, I can be reached at any time.
Does anyone have any questions? There was a lot of work went into this, a lot of thought, and like Neil said, we had a lot of input from the local business people and real estate owners in downtown, and there is some good ideas that came out of it, and I think going forward here in the next couple of months, we need to look at some of these ideas and possibly implement them. So anyway, I think it definitely will help traffic and it will help parking.
Sooner the better.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Good work. Anybody have anything you want to pull from the consent agenda?
Yes, Mayor.
We need to make a motion to accept the.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, go ahead and make that motion, sorry about that. Yeah. You make it?
Yes, sir.
We got a motion by Mr. Empey, second by Mr. Aldermen. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you, Mike. All right, so the consent agenda, Mr. Wade, what would you like to pull?
8T, approve the application for a short-term rental at 104 Cary Code, PID number 63037-401 .000.
Okay.
For DD.
DD.
Don't.
DD.
Quarterly grease trap report.
Okay.
And also 8B is in boy.
8B. Where will it be?
Under
Grants.
planning.
All right.
Also need to pull item C under human resources.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda without 8B, 8OC, and 8DD. And which one? NT? NT, I'm sorry.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Cox,
Second.
second by Mr. Aldermen. Any, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so consent agenda is approved. We'll take these items going down the list. We'll go into the mayor's report. Item B, approved special event permit application for the end of summer barbecue cook-off and concert in the park on September 24th from noon till 6 p.m. at War Memorial Park, Ocean Springs Civic Center. Authorized to waive the $600 Civic Center rental fee.
At that point, I just need to add and approve city sponsorship. The event will promote and advertise the city.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Blacken.
Second.
Second by Mr. Aldermen. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, going down the list under Human Resources, Risk Management, item C, authorized promotion of Deputy Court Clerk James Martin to Deputy Court Clerk 2. That's from Court Clerk 1 to Court Clerk 2, Step 4. $14.89 hourly rate effective August 13th, 2022. 6-month probationary status, authorized to begin the process of filling vacant position.
I'll make a motion to accept item C under human resources risk management, accept the date change, that effective date is August 6th, 2022.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Empey, second by Mr. Blackman. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Under planning, item T, approve the application for residential short-term rental permit at 104 Cary Cove, PID 610374001.000. Planning Commission recommends approval. Mr. Wade?
We had some discussions and with Robert Handel.
Okay.
Thank you. I was asked to look at this. Deals with restrictive covenants. It's about the third one in the last 15 months I've dealt with involving short-term rentals. And I was asked to look at this, and my first question is it in a neighborhood, a subdivision? And then number two, are there restrictive covenants? And the answer to both of those was yes. And in the restrictive covenants for the neighborhood, it expressly disallows it doesn't use the term short-term rental because it was drafted in the early 90s, but it clearly the intent. So based upon that, I got with Mr. Wade and told him that in my opinion, the restrictive covenants prevented this. And again, this has come up a couple times before, and short-term rentals have been full because the covenants, which run with the land, they are enforceable. So that's the reason I suggested it.
We need to take a vote on that, do we? Maybe pull because of protective covenant, not allowed.
No vote?
You're probably, since the planning commission approved it, you probably do need to vote.
Okay.
Well, I guess my question and what came up is our ordinance specifically says there has to be an HOA, which is why it didn't show up. In our review, we asked the applicant if it's a covenant restricted community, and when we get the answer no, and there's no active HOA, then the ordinance doesn't go in that direction because it specifically says that the HOA that it has to be an active
But we
HOA.
ask for restricted covenants.
We ask if it is restrictive, but it specifically says the HOA has to make that determination. And if there's not an active HOA, it didn't give us the
The covenant runs with the land.
Right.
It's a contract
Right.
with the land, and it's not dependent on whether there's an HOA or not. It says you shall not, and it lists about 25 things. So I don't believe our ordinances can override these, and they don't. They're not conflict. But it's my opinion that this is prevented by the restriction.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to deny this short-term rental.
Motion by Mr. Wade, second by Mr. Cox. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Excuse me.
Okay, so
I thought it'd be aye.
John Gill back in the room. We have, motion carries 6-1. Mr. Aldermen voting nay. Okay, item DD, accept quarterly grease trap report for August 2022.
Yeah, I have a question on this one. And I guess Alan's not here, and Candace, I guess. So the last one that we heard on this was Lazy Cakes. You know, they came in here and they said that they weren't gonna have an issue with what they were doing, and they've already been in violation for not getting their trap cleaned. And I think that the other one, Fort Bulls, has already been, also talked to. So what are we doing to be proactive to stop from having to go back and recheck these after they, as far as like, are we putting them on notice, or are we fining them? I mean, we charge them to go back out?
No additional action
Well,
has occurred.
we've talked about this, and the way the procedure is supposed to work now is that we go inspect, and correct me if I'm wrong here, and we make sure that somebody on premises knows that we were there, and they make them sign that we were there. If they're in violation, we're supposed to get a report from them that they've had that grease trap pumped, and if they don't, then we go back out and cite them again. So, yeah, we are following up on it. We have a fairly new procedure, so that's what we're doing. Typically, once we find somebody in violation, they're pretty quick to come back with that. bill of lading or whatever that we're provided with, so.
Okay.
So Mayor, shouldn't, I mean, if we're going out more than once, to me,
Yeah,
they
they
should pay a
should.
fee.
I mean, they're using a city resource.
Well, we're gonna have to, put that in a resolution or adopt that, modify our resolution on that. I mean, that's easily done.
Put in a $25 re-inspect fee. We do that with our inspections. We can charge a $25 re-inspect fee.
Okay.
And obviously, do they know when you're coming every 3 months? This, was it Mike Creel does the, he's supposed to do it every 3 months, or?
Well, I think it's important that they understand that, just like the building department, going back out and checking behind builders over and over the same stuff. I mean, it's like sooner or later something's gotta be done so we get their attention that it's their responsibility. We're just not the gatekeeper on that.
And wasting gas and wear and tear from not to mention.
Right.
So,
It probably should be more than $25 to get somebody's attention.
yeah, that would do it.
It can be a progressive scale.
Yeah.
It start at 25 and go up, because some of these is just a regular, 25, double it, whatever, but some of these people, it's a regular, it's just the way they operate their business, and that's not acceptable.
Well, if y'all are working on it, then I'll make a motion that we accept the quarterly restrap report.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion by Mr. Alderman, second by Mr. Cox. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Department reports, motion, is there anything to pull from the docket of claims? Motion.
Motion to accept the docket of claims, Mr. Mayor.
Motion by Ms. Second. Second by Ms. Who's the second? Burgess. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Anybody have any questions about the monthly budget report?
Make a motion to accept the monthly budget report.
Motion by Mr. Cox.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wade. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, this is general public comment. You can address the board on any issue related to the city. It doesn't have to pertain to the agenda. You'll have 3 minutes. There'll only be 2 people allowed to speak on each side of an issue. And if you'd like to step forward, whoever would like to speak to the board, just now state your name and your address.
We're here.
Yes, sir.
My name is Lad Chandler. I'm a resident of Stark Bayou subdivision. Many of you have heard of the complaints that have come out of Stark Bayou through the police department and probably private citizens also. My cohorts and I have done a petition within Stark Bayou and got 45 signatures supporting the existence of wildlife in the community without the need to call the police every time a rooster crows, which is what has happened. And over the past 4 to 5 months, we've had a new neighbor move in, homeowner move in. And only in that last 4 to 5 months have we seen police activity in the neighborhood at the request of that person who has spoken before you before and added in comments. We found 99% approval of this statement that I'll read to you is very short. Statement of purpose on this petition with Stark Bayou. The residents of Stark Bayou and Ocean Springs are submitting this petition asking that the city consider designating the neighborhood or the city or both a sanctuary for wild roosters and hens similar to the status of cats. Stark Bayou and Ocean Springs are located near the Gulf Islands National Seashore, so wild animals are common. We're asking that wild animals that pose no threat be protected. This doesn't sound unusual, but we have had the 4 of us that are here together tonight who did this petition have a combined 90 years residence in Stark Bayou. Only in the last 4 to 5 months have we had any calls about wildlife other than stray dogs or something like that. But we have had all calls about a rooster. That is a feral rooster that lives in the bayou, along with maybe 2 others. I brought copies of the signatures. Mr. Papania, I believe you recommended to one of my coworkers who called you that you might like to have those. I don't know if I need to pass it to you or I can bring it.
Just, if you would, give it to the clerk for the record.
And for those of you who would like to know a little bit about the geography of Start Bayou, it's on Government Street. Here's Breezy Hill, and we all live on Breezy Hill. I put ground zero from where all the calls have come from, right here. And we live.
Thank you, Mr. Chandler. We'll take this under advisement. You know, we discussed it. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the board? Yes, ma'am.
I want to thank you, Mayor, for having the graveyard ditch halfway cleaned out. Appreciate that. It did get some of the water off the Parktown Drive, but we still got an issue there in the back between Walmart and Parktown subdivision on Parktown Drive. That water comes through the covers. That cover's going in, but whoever cleaned those ditches, they don't clean out the cover there. It's all growing up, and a lot of trees are growing in there too. But now, my driveway, the cover is broke in 3 places. Your people came out there and dug it out several months ago, but they did not come back and do the new one in. And I'm losing my driveway, and I'm losing my front yard where the drainage is. It hadn't been fixed. And the roots is getting underneath the driveway from the tree, getting under the house now.
Just
So
for the record,
we
please.
appreciate if you see to that.
Yes, ma'am. Just for the record, name and address.
But my Alderman, have you been down there to check it out? Huh?
Yes, you go and say your name.
Your name and your address.
Oh, my name's Katie Yow. I'm sorry.
And your address.
I'm
Miss
like-
Katie, your address, please.
I'm sorry. But anyway,
What is your address?
huh?
State your address, where you live.
1219 Parktown Drive, Ocean Springs, Mississippi, 39564.
Okay. You're legal.
Have you been there, Mike, check the ditches out?
Yes, ma'am, and Ms. Carolyn has the project, I'm sorry, Carolyn, I don't remember what you told me on that.
The bids were received. It appears that we will have a compliant bid, but they're under review right now, and I'm just waiting for that. I should get that tomorrow. It should be on the next agenda to award those last 3 schedules.
Okay. Miss Katie, do you have anything else for us?
In that project, as soon as the bids are approved and it gets started, they're gonna address all those ditches around Parktown.
For the drainage?
Yes, ma'am.
Parktown
This is specifically a drainage-only project. No sewer, no water. This is strictly for
Well,
drainage.
now, that's another question I want to say. Is the a water meter and the sewage meter supposed to be next to each other?
You don't have a sewer. You don't have a sewer meter. All you have is a water.
I'm gonna check it out because, somebody has moved the sewage over there next to my water.
Well, okay.
I
Thank
need
you.
that checked out.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Just keep the good work up.
Always nice to get encouraging remarks from you. Yes, sir. You want to address it?
My name is Robert Brown. I live at 104 Linwood Cove, and I recently bought this home, and I walked right into an aging problem. We have sinkholes in the backyard, and I did a FOIA request and did some research, it dates back all the way to 2008. And there was a right-of-way put on my property, not connected to the deed, running right down the side of my house. No deed says anything about that. There is an abandoned mine under the house that's causing sinkholes and damage to my home. And I need to know where to turn.
I'm sorry you're having problems. I'm Robert Wilkinson, city attorney. In 2008, did you buy that home from a Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Okay. In 2008, Mr. Horn didn't actually file suit against the city, but he made a claim. And in that claim deals exactly with what you're dealing with, the abandoned sewer line underneath the house. And as a result of that, a settlement was made. You got the documents, I think, from the city today. You saw where the city engineer recommended a certain way to repair it, and he turned that down. The city did not do the repairs. Mr. Horn hired a private individual to do it. But at the end of the day is, we made a settlement on that case for that exact issue, and a release was signed, and the city was done with it. And so we have paid for that. I have no idea if it was repaired or not, but the city has paid for that repair.
Well, that's fine. What did they do?
Well, the city didn't do the repair. We paid Horn, and he did the repair.
The pipe under the house belongs to the city. And the big holes in my backyard, I recently had an artist come in there to cut down trees. He spotted it. He wouldn't put his equipment over there. He looked down in there. He says, you can drop a refrigerator inside. That's so big. 30 feet from my lot line, the pumping station. And the water is taking the dirt. There is no dirt on the surface. I took a spade and put it all the way down and reached the bottom of it. It's a small cavity, 2 places. I believe there is dirt. It's unsafe. And I am not going to be held responsible for it. The offer that was made, I did a fire request, and what was offered to Mr. Horn is unknown. And why he went the way he went, I don't know. But I do know a little bit about construction. And 3 piers and a mounting force on the top, there's no way to handle the weight of a house. And we now have cracked floors in 2 bedrooms, and we have all that dirt disappearing right out the back of my house. Now, it doesn't take a whole lot of appreciation to figure that out. The 2 and 2 are connected, and I don't know where to turn. And I retained Mr. Schwartz as an attorney, and he said, go to the city, try the easy way first. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Was it, let me ask you a question, was it disclosed to you from the,
That one where
so
I
the
have
seller
all-
didn't disclose it
I
to
have
you?
all the papers given to me on that house, the warranty deed, which is terrible. There's not even a right-of-way indication on here, nothing. And the way I understand it, there's another house involved.
I don't have any knowledge.
Okay. Robert, you want to get with Mr. Schwartz and kind of go talk? a little
I don't
bit
want
about this?
him involved until, because I'm paying by the hour.
Okay, so let's,
What I want to do is meet with whoever.
I tell you what,
I've had 3 city officials.
we'll set up a meeting with me and Alderman Cox and Alderman Black.
That would be good.
And
Let's try to do it the right way.
we'll figure, you know, I'm in real estate. I understand what you're dealing with, but I'm not sure the city has liability here. But we'll discuss that later. That's not this format.
Can I ask one final question? Have you retained Mr. Schwartz as your attorney?
I did that because I don't know where to turn. I've had 3 city officials out there. They've all looked at it.
Okay, well, let's
They're
do
all
this.
going to call me
I
back.
understand. Let me discuss this with our attorney, and we will be in touch with you.
Robert, ain't this disclosure issues really?
Yes.
Really is.
Pretty good property.
I would think, but I wasn't party to that contract. I don't know anything about it, so I
Well, I'd
hate
like
to
to-
make a.
I don't want to do it here because it take a lot of time.
Yes, sir. We're not gonna do it here tonight,
One,
no.
one of the things, just an example, it said this was faxed over at a certain time, page 1, where's the other 5 pages? Everything's missing.
Yeah, well, that's not the city's issue. But anyway, we will get with you. We have your contact information. Thank you. Does anyone else would like to address the board? Okay, that concludes public hearing. We're going to Mayor and Alderman's forum. Alderman Burgess?
I'm good.
Alderman?
I'm good. Mayor, I just have a couple of street lights I need to be checked out on at 3405 Parliament. I believe it's Mississippi Power. And,
They're waiting on, there's a work order for all those lights. It's gotta be rebored. I'm in contact with Mr.
Oh, are you?
Allen.
Okay, because I turned it in quite a ways back, and he came back today and said they're still off, and it's very dark. So maybe if they'll go tell the neighbors that their lights will be on soon, that'd be great. How about Shearwater Bridge lights? Any report on that?
We are taking some of the lights from downtown that we replaced, and we're going to put them out there. And Gandhi's doing that for us, is that correct?
I don't know who, I don't know if the city electrician was, but I haven't told anybody.
I think we've talked about it a lot.
We talked about
Well, did we talk
it,
to
and we told
Weaver?
Alan that we were going to take some of those lights that we took down. And,
Are the lights down at Public Works?
I think we're going to have Weaver do this. I got to
Okay, I can contact him.
Well, please do. We've been talking about it for a long time. Those lights been out and look pretty terrible.
Yeah, we now have surplus lights that we can take care of.
And the only other thing I've got is with the VRBO situation, I think we need to pull that ordinance and look at that to make sure that those restricted covenants are taken care of, because even though a HOA is not in place, those do need to be looked at. So,
I'll go back and look at it, but I know this conversation was, fully vetted. We went round and round on the original go-ahead, and that was the guidance we were given, is there had to be an active HOA, so that's why I'm a little.
but even if the HOA is not active, the covenant still remains.
So that was.
If we may, Robert, if you'll pull that, let's dig into that. If we need a work session, it'd be fine with that.
We could just add it to the application process, maybe, Carolyn, is that if there is your subdivision, bring your restricted covenants.
Well, and that's where we probably need to have the conversation, because the specific input that we received was that there had to be an HOA, and that's the way the ordinance was written. So I just want to make sure that we're, reading it correctly, because that's what we've been telling people. So
Maybe we didn't need to amend it.
I think that's what it's gonna take.
Okay.
That's all I've got, Mayor.
Thank you.
I'll second Mr. Cox's request on the VRBO ordinance. We've been wrestling with that thing for years, so I would like to see it be carefully put together. I volunteered to serve. We need to address the VRBO. The only thing I have, Mayor, just to let you and the Alderman know, I'm gonna use my Alderman's funds. Mr. Alderman has a sign very similar to this on Shearwater. And I'm gonna order one, and I bring it up for public safety so that the chief will know about it. Plan to put a chief on. You know what?
He's over there.
Is he? Yeah, I plan, chief, to find an appropriate place on Halsted to place this, radar sign. And, that is gonna be about $2,800.
Is that solar powered or electric?
It'll be solar powered. I can't, I don't want the battery, I'm paying more for solar powered.
Well, Ricky can change the battery when he changes
Yeah.
it.
We're doing it every
I'll
other
tell you what,
week,
that's
too.
gonna wear you out.
That's about every 2 weeks, isn't it?
Yeah, like every 14 days.
Yeah, I can't even get a street.
That equals 2 weeks.
I can't get- No, anyway, I always bring it up for everybody to know about it, so that's all I've got.
Thank you. Mr. Blackman?
You know what, I'm good tonight.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Impey?
I just want to express my gratitude to the Parks and Rec Department and Public Works. We had an officer come down this weekend, and Raven is not here tonight, but Mayor, I appreciate you being here, and Alderman Burgess and Wade. when we honored Mr. Young at and added his flag to the Merchant Marine Monument down on Front Beach this weekend. It was a great event. He had everybody there from kids to grandkids. But he wanted me to express on his behalf his gratitude. He's a very humble man. He said that, you know, he said, now this started out with a plaque. He said, I didn't know about all these proclamations, but he said, I don't know if I deserve all that. But anyway, he was very grateful and wanted me to express on his behalf his gratitude for him and his family. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that was a very nice event. They were very appreciative. And thank you for organizing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We went to the Neshoba County Fair. Sarah Q and Raven and I, they had a coast day up there. Cities presented information about themselves and different entities along the coast. They've been doing this about 4 years. Billy Hughes and Gulfport organized the initial event. It went well, and I think we had these fans. We handed out to people passing. It had the city logo, and it said on the other side, the coolest town in Mississippi, because it's hot up there. And it was neat to see all these folks walk around with the City of Ocean Springs fans. And we did a lot of good. A lot of people had a lot of positive comments about Ocean Springs, and the chamber went with us, along with Singing River Hospital and the songwriters. So it was some good publicity, marketing for future tourism in Ocean Springs. So just let y'all know that went well. I need a motion to go into closed session to determine the necessity to go into executive session. Motion by Mr. Officer. Second by Mr. Blackman. All in favor? Aye. Okay, we're going to go into closed session. We will be clearing the boardroom because we're going to stay in here. Everybody needs to clear the boardroom. Patty, you're going to stay.
If I can ask you some questions about
Back up.
I know, I saw that, but no, get that anyway.
And the wheels work? I'll email about it. I've been texting about that.
All that way. You know,
Building veteran. I'll say something.
We just been messing around.
Did you leave me a message this morning? Okay.
Don't tell me you're going to pray. When you gonna make Bobby so happy, he's gonna fuss at me about that 300,000.
We should be good at my dog with them.
I saw it, but
Should have brought that up.
Oh.
Your homework for later, they call this homework. Yes. And then I'll meet with you and whatever this week or this weekend, or I don't care. I'll be available. I haven't done water and sewer, but just with everything else. No, I worked 3 weeks straight. I probably won't be here. But I'll be able to meet at night, or, you know, I'll be available to everybody for the next week. This is just general fund, 2%. Okay?
So you okay?
Yeah, Robert said, yeah, I told me, I said, this shit. Where we're going, that's what I thought you had on.
I did. My feet,
Well, McCoy tripped her.
I can't touch the ground when she's somewhere, and I bent over and I
He was thinking, no.
Hey, Sarah?
Yeah.
Was you drinking when you fell out of the
I
chair?
wish.
Oh my gosh, girl.
I don't know what she was doing.
I
I
died.
almost died. And then I was like, oh, don't get the picture. Do not get the picture.
Did I miss it?
Yeah, over there.
You were over there. And you knew she was on the ground.
We were taking pictures.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, they were over there.
Oh, the baseball. We were sitting in our chairs. And girl, I mean, and then I was like,
That it really.
like,
Yeah.